And though we had wrapped up filming and the video was about 80% done, a few months later, the files were deleted by Sean himself. So what was episode 25 going to be like? Well, you're going to find out about that and more here on the final part of Cardboard Chaos. So before we get into the boring stuff, first things first, what happened to episode 25? While it was true that the episode was about 80% done, it was experiencing some playback issues in iMovie, which made it a little difficult to adjust the overall pacing of the episode. Regardless, I was still planning to release it, and I was also waiting on Kat to send me her lines for it. But as the year began to approach December, I began to contemplate on whether or not I should continue the series, and sometime before the announcement, I actually deleted all the project files for episode 25 in iMovie. At that point, I felt comfortable with deleting it because I was ready to cancel the series. So all of that being said, what was episode 25 going to be like? Well, in summary, Gilbert returns to visit Clipper in the hospital. You know, the blue one. Shota reveals to Bucky that he's the god of Cardboard City, which angers Bucky because he didn't do anything to help them out. But despite Bucky willing to let bygones be bygones, Shota flees the city and even abandons Wheeljack in the process. Joker breaks up with Harley and joins Eijiro's crew after he is successfully convinced by Eijiro that he hasn't been himself lately. Wonder why. The rest of the Mope's gang flee to Aquaman's place after Joker kicks them out. Eijiro's crew has grown, with the Joker being the newest member. Axel is seen dragging Giant Kirby by the foot. Wheeljack discovers new buildings growing from the debris on the other side of the city. And the Tsum Tsums are ambushed by Fluffy and Egg Joker at the end. But Spider-Man, Black Panther, and Doctor Strange left the city. So what about episode 26? Didn't you at least write the script for it? Wait, who told you that? Yes, if I remember correctly, he completed the script for episode 26. Damn it! Alright. Episode 26. Brand new day. Eijiro's crew essentially capture all the Mope's characters and Tsum Tsums. There was going to be some fight scenes, a big car chase, and even a scene near the beginning with Deadshot Go. During the car chase, Axel was going to be setting off bombs, while Giant Kirby was destroying the buildings. And after the capture, Eijiro would double-cross Joker and Egg Joker before fleeing the city, which was falling to pieces. But what about Clipper and Gilbert? Well, they managed to escape, but like Eijiro at the end, they discovered that they could only go back to the Egg universe and not to their own respective universes. In other words, the portal was corrupt and they had nowhere else to go besides Cardboard City. Alright, we gotta move along. So I'm going to try my best to briefly walk through the last 5 episodes of Cardboard City, which make up the final chapter. Now, even though I never wrote a script for any of these, I did have a general idea for each episode. So... Episode 27, Mad World. After escaping the poor security of the prison in the Egg universe, the Mope's characters flee to Cardboard City, which is now in ruins. Basically, Chapter 3 was going to have a post-apocalyptic setting for all episodes. Meanwhile, Eijiro and his crew set out to go track them down, but because the city had expanded, the map was now even larger than before, making it more difficult to find them. Aquaman reunites with Deadshot and Harley, but Katana and Joker have yet to be found. Later on, Ghost Rider attacks them, but they manage to remove the mind control device attached to him. Ghost Rider then explains that the other Tsum Tsums are working for Eijiro and are looking for them. Needless to say, they're f***ed. Episode 28, Return of the Crazy One. As the title suggests, the Joker returns. Basically, Aquaman runs into him while looking for supplies, and he's having an identity crisis. Later on, Clipper and Gilbert join their group, and Gilbert becomes their mole, because before the whole city collapsed, Eijiro was able to obtain the entire Bear Gang to be a part of his crew. So now, Gilbert is working undercover. But needless to say, they're still fucked. Oh, and Arthur becomes separated from the group with Joker. Episode 29, I originally titled it See You in Hell, but I believe that later on I changed it to Help is on the Way. Anyway, in this episode, Axel returns, but is now regretting his actions and contemplating suicide. But have no fear, Hiro Hamada shows up. But wait, didn't the portal glitch out or whatever? We'll get into that in a bit. Basically, Hiro does his best to talk Axel out of suicide. And does he succeed?
I don't know. I didn't write the script for this one. I believe I went with him being unsuccessful, but I don't know. You decide.
Later on, Arthur runs into him, and right off the bat, he knows something's up. After some back and forths, it is revealed that Hiro is actually Shota, or the god. And Arthur's all like, "What the hell are you doing here?" Eventually, the god agrees to tell Arthur everything, and they exit the city to the god's room. Or my room. Episode 30, Meet Your Maker. Pretty self-explanatory. Aquaman meets the god in his actual form, face reveal, plot explanations. Aquaman becomes reacquainted with the group, Harley and Joker make up, Katana's back, everyone's happy. But they're still stuck in Cardboard City. What to do? Well, the god comes up with a plan. With the help of Wheeljack, if they can find a functional TV thing from those mysterious TVs in the rooms, then Wheeljack can use it to correct the portal, allowing them to leave. But the challenge is that Eijiro and his crew are still looking for them, and they have to find a TV somewhere in the debris. What to do? Episode 31, Escape. Originally, this episode was planned to have 4 different endings, but I decided I would just go with one. But for the hell of it, I'll go through all 4. In the first ending, the portal gets fixed, but then there's a showdown between Shota and Eijiro. Shota ends up letting Eijiro go simply because he couldn't bring himself to kill someone, and afterwards, he makes this big apology speech to everyone in the city and lets them all leave, while him and Wheeljack are now left to rebuild the city. Overall, a good ending. In the second ending, everyone dies. Seriously. They split into groups but fail to fix the portal. Each group is killed off by some of Eijiro's crew members, and even though he accomplished his mission, Eijiro and his crew can't go back home, so they starve to death, and the god shoots himself for being responsible for the deaths of so many people. Dark, I know. And then there are the 2 time travel endings. Basically, they convert the TV into a time machine to get everyone back home and prevent all the events that took place in Cardboard City from ever happening. But the only way to make it work is by having the god seize this power and sacrifice himself for humanity, much like Endgame. In one ending, because a fight breaks out between the 2 groups, we see everyone back in their universes, but they're all unhappy. In the other ending,
which is the one I chose,
after a short battle with Eijiro, the god completes a successful time jump for everyone, and they are all living happily ever after. Even the cars get their own universe. But Qui-Gon questions the possibility of there being other universes, even though Cardboard City no longer exists. In Eijiro's scene, he gets a little deja vu moment when the real Shota Aizawa comes into his shop to see why he dropped out of school. After his visit, at the very end before the credits roll, we see Eijiro going back to school. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a brief rundown of what the final 7 episodes of Cardboard City were going to be like. Needless to say, I honestly don't think I would have been able to complete them in the first place. A lot of those ideas were quite ambitious, especially the entirety of Chapter 3.
Now, it's a little sad that none of these episodes will ever see the light of day, but believe me, I have tons of ideas that will never be made. Like, did you know I had an idea for a Cardboard City spin-off series starring Shota? That's all there is. I mean, maybe I'll talk about it in another video. But enough beating around the bush. It's finally time to talk about what led to the cancellation of Cardboard City.
Well, if you've been following along, then you may recall a few things brought up by the cast members in Part 2, which hinted at possible factors that led to the cancellation. And while all of them did play a part in that decision, they are all related to one thing: the writing. If it wasn't obvious enough, I am the sole writer of Cardboard City, hence the bad dialogue, bad character traits, and so on. Without a team of writers and no initial plan, Cardboard City was a series that had to be written as it progressed, which is why the ideas grew larger and the episodes became longer.
Sure, it was nice to have the freedom to do whatever I wanted, but it may have been useful if I had someone to go, "Hey, this too many characters now, and the whole Cardboard City universe is expanding. What are you going to do about that?
Now, some of you may say that I'm being too hard on myself, but let's face it, Cardboard City was a mess. The amount of plot holes was just ridiculous. It's like movie 43. It doesn't matter how many celebrities you have, because if your movie is shit, then that's all that really matters. Adding well-known characters is only sugarcoating it. Besides the writing, another key factor that played a part in the cancellation was time. Now I know some of you might be going, really? You're going to use the James Rolfe excuse? First of all, give the guy a break. And secondly, hear me out. Now unlike Rolfe, I don't do YouTube for a living. So despite spending hours on each episode, I didn't make a single penny off of any of them. Regardless, I still made them because of my passion for making videos. But as the years went by, a lot of things happened in my life, and I suppose I lost a little bit of interest in the series. Also, I grew tired of spending so much time on a series that didn't have much of a demand to begin with. It came to a point where it didn't seem to matter whether or not I continued it. Not to mention the story was already out of control.
In summary, I just wanted to spend my time doing other things, like working on other projects or being a productive member of society. How lame, I know.
But besides poor writing and lack of time, there's one more factor that played a part in the cancellation. Mental health. It's no secret that I have issues with my mental health. I have an entire short film based on my experiences. And though Cardboard City didn't necessarily play a role in causing it in the first place, there were quite a few episodes that were produced during times where I was really feeling down. I forced myself to finish up some episodes simply because I was tired of working on them, and you can kind of tell by the choppiness in the stop motion. The final episode was pretty difficult to get through as well. And I know I brought it upon myself because I wrote such long episodes, but even though there wasn't a demand for the series, I did try really hard to keep it as consistent as possible.
Looking at it now, I honestly can't believe I did it for so long, because nowadays I can barely bring myself to even do a simple setup with the buildings. I mean, call me lazy, call me whatever, but that's just the way it is now. So, for the sake of my mental health, I think canceling the series was for the best.
Oh, boo-hoo. Who gives a damn about your mental health? What about my job, asshole? I'm the reason you even started making videos again. I am the face of Cardboard City! And that pretty much summarizes why I canceled Cardboard City. Now, I may have missed a few details, and I'm sure some of you are saying, that made absolutely no sense at all. But hey, I never claimed to be good at explaining things, nor have I ever claimed to be a good writer. To be honest, I kind of saw it coming. You know, obviously there was the hiatus after episode 24, but sometime after finishing episode 25, Sean started to get rid of a bunch of the cars because he only needed certain ones for the remaining episodes. And of course, he seemed kind of tired of working on the series altogether. I was a little shocked, but I was more disappointed. Why is that? Because he obviously did it to avoid getting cancelled. But what about what we're doing right now? Who gives a damn? We lost a lot of people after the cancellation. Kinda sad to see so many people go. Are you happy that you got to stay? Yeah, but he hardly uses me anymore. So, what's the point? I recall Ejiro saying that he was really excited to be the villain because he's always the hero. I admit that I kind of felt bad that he never really got a chance to shine, especially because he's not even with us anymore. Do you want to talk about it? No, f*** him. I just felt bad for those who were given away and for those who relied on Cardboard City as being their main gig on the channel. I always thought it was a bit unfair that I got more screen time more than any other character, and the talk show was still on the air. But I guess that one got cancelled too about 6 months later.
And that brings us to the present day. What was once a shelf full of cars is now full of figures, Blu-rays, CDs, books, and a bit of a concerning obsession. So basically after the cancellation, I got rid of a bunch of the cast members and the remaining 118 cars, some of which were sold on eBay. Now all that being said, it's pretty obvious that Cardboard City will not be returning, despite the fact that I still have a portion of the cast and all the buildings, because without everything else, it just wouldn't be the same. Now, even though I've walked you through the entire history of this series, I'm sure some of you are still wondering, Do I have any regret making Cardboard City? Well, yes and no.
I spent a lot of time producing Cardboard City episodes, and I definitely could have used that time doing more productive things. So, yeah, I did waste a lot of time on this series. But I can't bring myself to say that I completely regret making it because overall, it was an interesting experience. Cardboard City was by far one of the most ambitious projects I've ever worked on. Before the series started, I had never really done anything quite like it. I never really had to write scripts or produce long videos until I began making episodes, which was a bit challenging for me. But now it's become something that I've gotten used to. And the same thing applies to voice acting. I hadn't done much of it to begin with, but the more episodes I made, the more I got used to hearing my own voice. And speaking of voice acting, this series allowed me to collaborate with my good friend Kat. Sure, it was just one other person, but I'm telling you, it felt great to be able to work with someone on videos again, and especially with a close friend who was more than happy to collaborate with me. And speaking of collaborating, well, not really, Cardboard City brought in a bunch of characters who may have never even appeared on the channel. Well, most likely. And then there's just the series itself. I still find it hard to believe that it evolved from a Grand Theft Auto parody and replaced the initial series I was planning to pursue. And if that wasn't wild enough, Cardboard City connected a bunch of videos on my channel that were never meant to correlate with one another. Even though some of the videos took place in alternate timelines, their connections helped expand the whole Cardboard City universe. It became more than just a series. It became an entire world that existed on my channel. And that is way more exciting than a series all about street racing. I know Cardboard City did kind of end up inheriting a bunch of car action stuff, but I was going to make those sorts of scenes regardless. Had to use the 118 cars for something. I'm sure people were sick and tired of me, but I don't give a damn. Cardboard City gave me more screen time on the channel, and that was pretty awesome. Had a good time on the show. I really did. Sure gonna miss it. All things must come to an end, I suppose. Just curious to see what's next. I'll tell you what, it's been one hell of a ride. Without Cardboard City, I may have never even been on the channel. So for that, I'm forever grateful for this opportunity. As someone who wasn't meant to be on the show, I don't know, what do you want me to say? Will you miss Cardboard City? No. Not one bit. You sure? Maybe a little bit. You happy?
And that concludes Cardboard Chaos. Now, I'm sure some of you may be saying that this whole thing was a waste of time and it really didn't need to be made. But the thing is, going into it, I already knew that there wasn't going to be much interest in the trilogy. But I always felt bad that I never really gave Cardboard City a proper ending. You see, as a kid, I wrote tons of stories, but I never finished any of them. And it was really unfortunate for me that Cardboard City would just be another story to add on to the pile of unfinished stories. So I wanted to give it a proper send-off by providing you with the full history of the series to sort of wrap things up. Whether or not you were a fan of the series, Cardboard City had a good run, and overall, I'm glad I made it. So with all that being said, to everyone who was a part of the series in one way or another, I thank you for watching. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. That is. You know, I was actually I was gonna go with this one here. See that? That looks kind of nice. So I was thinking, hey, you know what? Let's go with this one. This is because we're talking about bad writing, and you know, anyone who's watched the show knows that the writing isn't exactly that great. But this character is awesome. Way better than you know.
ありがとう。